one big call out that I have to make about Versa Invest is that cha-ching! What's up everyone, welcome back to another video with the Millennial Finance. By now, most of you should already be familiar with the name Versa. About 10 months ago, we did the first review on their cash management product. Recently, they've finally expanded on their product portfolio with the introduction of Versa Invest. So, is Versa Invest worth investing in? Let's find out. Before I start, real quick, if you haven't signed up for Versa yet, then you can do so right now. You can use our code, we'll leave it down in the description below, and you will get a 20 ringgit bonus once you invest 100 ringgit. If you're an existing user with Versa, but you haven't tried out Versa Invest yet either, then you can still use our code and you will also get 20 ringgit once you invest 100 ringgit into Versa Invest. Anyway, with so many different options out there available in the market like STASHAWay, Wahid and Kenanga Digital, what is the difference with Versa Invest? Right off the bat, the first thing that I like is that they're actually trying something new. Unlike the other platforms I mentioned earlier, they won't actually be a robo-advisor. Yes, there won't be any of the buzzwords like AI or robo. Instead, they will be an actively managed fund. How this works is that they've partnered with Affin Hwang Asset Management. They did something similar for their cash management product and they came up with a fund that's dedicated for Versa users. So yes, there will be fund managers who actively decide what is in the portfolio. This seems to be contrary to popular financial advice where people say that we should put all of our money into passive ETFs instead of active fund managers because they can't even beat the market, right? Well, personally, I do like active funds and I do think they have a place in people's portfolios, and even within my own personal portfolio with Interactive Brokers, I do have a few active funds. However, I wouldn't really go all in or have a significant allocation of my total portfolio in just one single active fund manager as a diversifying strategy. Instead, for investments like this, we should really try to pick many different fund managers just in case anything bad happens. Since they're actively managed, we need to put their holdings and their investment strategy under the microscope even more. So, what has Versa Invest decided to do in this regard? On top of this Affin Hwang fund being actively managed, they will also use a combination of passive and active funds to try and beat the market. In a way, this is called a fund of funds. Just like other options out there, they have different options based on your risk appetite and where you are in life. And for Versa Invest, they have 3 different ones to choose from, being conservative, moderate and growth. As usual, I went for the growth portfolio because that fits me the best. So everything that I talk about in this section will be in regards to the growth portfolio. Going back to the active funds that they choose to invest in, according to Versa Invest, they will have 6 of the top 10 fund managers globally, including the likes of BlackRock and Bailey Gifford. I don't know if I pronounced that guy's name right, but I do know that he is a very well-known investor, so I'm still gonna put my money there, but I will never know how to pronounce his name. Usually, investments in funds like these can have a relatively high initial deposit, which means there is a high barrier to entry for retail investors, but what Versa does is, as usual, they will pool together the funds of investors and then gain access to these funds. One thing to take note of here is that active funds usually will have a higher management fee compared to passive ones, but that is already factored into returns. As I usually say, fees don't really matter as long as the fund manages to outperform the market. Now, let's get into what my Versa Invest growth portfolio actually looks like. When looking at my portfolio's holdings, I'm actually slightly disappointed that at first glance, 40% of my investments are in money market funds. As I always talk about, growth portfolios, it's a bit odd for us to go so safe because if I wanted a safe investment, then I would have gone for a moderate or conservative option. Also, for all the talk about active funds being included in this portfolio, the only one that I currently have right now is with Affin Hwang, and that is only an allocation of 6%. The rest of my portfolio, which is about 54%, currently resides in passive ETFs, which anyone can just invest in themselves. After speaking to the team about this, they did mention that they'll start to add more active managed funds as soon as their assets under management starts to grow, because like I said, these funds usually have a high initial deposit and they will need to pool more of investors' funds before they can get access to it. Anyway, this is something that I'll be looking out for in the future, because if this doesn't come to fruition, then Versa Invest's main USP, which is to have actively managed funds, isn't really real. In terms of the money market fund allocation, I guess after second thought, I can't really complain since markets are horrible right now, and if that 40% that is currently in that money market fund is instead in an equity fund, then I probably would have lost even more money. Similar to the situation with the active fund allocation, I will also be keeping my eye out to see how Versa Invest plans to shift more of my portfolio to equities as we go into a more risk-on environment, and hopefully that's soon. In terms of the passive ETF selection so far, they all seem to be pretty standard with nothing that is out of the ordinary. One thing that I don't really like from a user point of view is that the funds and its allocations are only updated once a month. I guess since this is an actively managed fund, it is a bit more difficult to update in real time, but moving forward, they should look at a shorter cadence in terms of updating this. I mean, even an active fund like ARK does update their holdings every single day, but I guess they are the outlier rather than the norm. Another cool thing that Versa Invest actually is trying to do is that they actively hedge our positions to minimize forex risk. Since all of our investments are in the US dollar because we are investing in US stocks, we do face the risk of lower returns if the Malaysian ringgit appreciates against the US dollar. Many people seem to only focus on the performance of the funds itself, but one day when we want to withdraw this money and bring it back to the Malaysian ringgit, then the conversion rate definitely does matter. However, in recent years, I think most of us know that the US dollar has actually strongly outperformed the Malaysian ringgit, which means that if we were to be hedged at this point, then we would have missed out on the potential gains of an appreciating US dollar. For example, right now, my US stock portfolio, my crypto portfolio, they're all down bad, but hey, at least the US dollar is 4.4 ringgit. If you're expecting to see the fruits of this hedging strategy, unfortunately there will not be a way for us to visualize this. Also, one big call out that I have to make about Versa Invest is that after asking the team, they did confirm that there will be no maximum allocation to Affin Hwang funds. The reason I asked the team this is because, in my opinion, there is a definite conflict of interest because this Versa Invest fund itself is managed by Affin Hwang, so if they decide to just put all the Affin Hwang funds in there, then it wouldn't really make sense. To be completely honest, I don't like this approach at all, even if the Affin Hwang funds turn out being good. This is because if Versa Invest starts to underperform the market, there will be big question marks over the fund choices. Since my current portfolio only has 6% allocation to Affin Hwang funds, this is not a huge problem for me at the moment, but as usual, I will be monitoring this moving forward. Okay, so now that we've gotten over the serious part, it's time for us to go through the app. As I probably mentioned before, the Versa app is probably one of the best in terms of user experience because it's just so easy to browse through it and look for what you want. Depositing is also very straightforward and I did it easily through online banking. According to the app, deposits can take up to 2 business days, whereas withdrawals will be initiated after 1 business day. On the topic of deposits, the minimum amount is 100 ringgit for both initial and subsequent deposits. This is slightly higher than some of the other options out there. Most of them start as low as 1 ringgit, but I don't think 100 ringgit is too much for this to be a negative point. If you can't afford to have, let's say, 100 ringgit every single month, then what you can do is that you can slowly gather up money in Versa Cash because that one doesn't have a 100 ringgit minimum deposit, and as soon as you hit 100 ringgit or more, you can then transfer it to Versa Invest. In terms of fees, Versa Invest charges 1%, which is again slightly higher than other options, but also they are an actively managed fund, which then justifies this. Like I said, if they manage to outperform the market, then I don't mind paying this fee. Also, like I mentioned earlier, since a portion of this portfolio will actually be in actively managed funds, they also charge more than passive ETFs, so we can expect this amount to be around 0.6 to 0.8%. However, there are no sales, redemption, or switching fees, which kind of softens the blow, but I guess this is the expectation moving forward. On to my personal thoughts. After going through everything, Versa Invest is probably somewhere that I would park a portion of my portfolio. However, similar to other robo-advisors out there in the market, the fact that they don't have a proven track record just means that I can't put too much money in right now. To start things off, I've put in a small amount of 300 ringgit into my Versa Invest growth portfolio, and I'll continue to monitor things moving forward. If their investment strategy is good, then I'll have no problems adding more money in just to increase my exposure to active funds. Just remember that negative or poor returns doesn't necessarily mean the investment is bad, especially if markets all around are doing poorly. What we want to see is a solid strategy and them making the right choices, because at the end of the day, that is what will matter long term. If you have never signed up for Versa or you've never tried Versa Invest, then you can use our link down in the description below. All you have to do is invest 100 ringgit and you will get a 20 ringgit bonus. Let us know down in the comments below. Will you invest in Versa Invest? Thanks for watching this video to the end, guys. Give us a huge thumbs up and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. See you guys in the next one. Peace out.